Then there's the issue of east of Russia, where South Africa has constantly voted on the side of not condemning Russia on the issue of this invasion of Ukraine, to the point where South Africa was seriously considering withdrawing from the Rome statutes, that other court, in order for them to be, in order for the South African government to be able to host Vladimir Putin for the BRICS summit, which was hosted by South Africa a few years back. And if Vladimir Putin had actually did go to South Africa for that summit, the South African government would have not arrested him, even though there's an arrest warrant against him. And the Democratic Alliance, which, I'm sorry to put it this way, is a white party, was willing to go to court in order to enforce the arrest of Vladimir Putin. And I know that they were not bluffing. This is just to demonstrate the differences in views between majority black people and majority white people, because the Democratic Alliance, more than the Freedom Front Plus, would probably be the party that represents the majority views of white South Africans. That would be the party that receives the majority vote of white South Africans. And so, more likely than not, their positions represent the views that are held by white South Africans. And the Freedom Front Plus might more likely, more or less, represent accurately the views of African South Africans, white African South Africans. So that was also a huge issue, because South Africa and Russia are very cordial. It doesn't matter what black political party, and I'm not talking about the African National Congress or the EFF. I'm talking about virtually every majority black South African political party has positive affections towards Russia, and no matter how white South Africans like to position this as being pro-communist, it's very unfortunate when you refuse to see other people's views, and you automatically go for pejoratives, or what you consider as pejoratives, and easy and lazy arguments, and ad hominems. You know, this issue of communism and McCarthyism, where everything that white conservatives have opposed in the past 80 years have been labeled as communism. I put it to you that life is a lot more complicated than that, and so, but that's just the state of affairs. And then there's the issue of also around Iran. South Africa has very cordial relationships with Iran. In fact, South Africa has very cordial relationships with almost every nation in the world except Israel. Because even Iran's sworn enemy, Saudi Arabia, South Africa has very cordial and friendly relationships with Saudi Arabia, to the point where, as far as I'm aware, South Africans don't need a visa to go to Saudi. I might be wrong about that, but for the longest time we didn't need a visa to go to Saudi Arabia. So South Africa has very cordial relationships and with Iran, and the U.S., obviously since 1979, has had a very adversarial relationship with Iran. Obviously, before that dictator that was in charge of Iran before 1979 was supported and funded by the United States of America, but that's a topic for another day. So that the U.S., which is also why that alliances are never permanent. And in fact, that the U.S. has been an Iranian ally longer than it has been an Iranian enemy, actually, based on the time on time that the U.S. Was cordial with that so-called Iranian king in the mid-50s, and before that, funding him, propping him up, right up until the Iranian Revolution. But then South Africa has had cordial relationships with Iran, and that goes back to our struggle in our 80s. And so this possesses a serious, and I must also put it that white South Africans don't like Iran. It's a well-known fact. When you listen to white South Africans open their mouths about Iran, it might as well be Mark Pompeo speaking, or Marco Rubio, or it could very well be Lindsey Graham, or the Ayatollahs this, the Ayatollahs that. It's basically, terrorism this, terrorism that. It's not just even mirror images of views about Iran between white South Africans and the West. It's identical views. So that you find that the commonality and the similarities between the West, especially the US, and white South Africans run so deep that it is tempting for the West to be sympathetic to the claims of these people, even if the claims are false. As I've stated in the past, that these claims are blatantly false. But I just wanted for people to be aware of the intricate complexities that involve foreign relations between South Africa and the United States of America. There's a lot there that these two nations don't see eye to eye with. Iran, Russia, Israel, Palestine, so-called white genocide in South Africa. A whole lot of issues. Cuba. The differences run deep, which is why, for me, I've been saying that this calls for cool heads, and this calls for wisdom. This is not time for incendiary comments and pejoratives and insults. This is time to calm down, sit down, talk, agree where we can agree, disagree where we can disagree. We can disagree without being disagreeable. And sometimes we can agree to disagree. And in a lot of these issues, South Africa and the United States, if there's going to be a relationship going forward, they're going to have to agree to disagree on a lot of issues. But there has to be extreme restraint, especially on public utterances made by politicians. Insults are not helpful. And I'm coming from a perspective of saying I'm at a position where I'm able to understand both parties' views on this matter. Because how can I put it? Because even though there is a view that I have personally, but I can say that I can understand the position of the West, and I can understand the position of South Africa. I'm not going to go into detail in terms of all these issues, because there's a lot of issues here. Not just about issues of white South Africa. There's a lot of issues, and there's a lot to be unpacked on those issues. And there's a lot to be unpacked on the differences also of those issues, and the historical context on those topics. But time right now does not allow for me to go into that. And because since it is important to understand another person's perspective, it is very important that diplomacy on the other side of South Africa be wise, be rooted in empathy and sympathy. Because You cannot have someone hear you when you are unable to hear them. People want to feel like they are heard, they are understood, and they are seen. And the issues that matter to South Africans are deep, they run for decades. And some of these issues also that Americans hold dear, they run deep, they hold them dear. Some of these issues, especially foreign issues in America, they are bipartisan. And it's very important to have candid, compassionate, and sensitive conversations in manners that are not unnecessarily adversarial. And that's the only hope that South Africa and the US can have in mending these diplomatic relationships. And for me, it's not even the issue of the foreign aid that the US has discontinued, this and that, whatever it is that is going on, the Trump administration refusing to meet with South African officials, diplomatic leaders, the South African delegation, the Secretary of State refusing to attend the G20 summit being hosted in South Africa. All of these things, wisdom is needed. Wisdom. And for me, I find this to be actually particularly very painful for me. And I'm torn. And I'm not going to say that my allegiances are split, because obviously I'm not a United States citizen yet. So my allegiance, I still only swore allegiance to the South African flag and the South African Constitution. But in my heart, I am torn because of what the United States of America means to me, more than any other country in the world, actually, than South Africa. So this is a very painful issue. Yeah, but with that said, I'd like to hear what everyone else's thoughts are about this spat and dispute between South Africa and the United States as the issue, as the situation is evolving and developing, and more is being revealed, and more specific and details are being revealed. What are your thoughts? Do you think that this is a relationship that can be salvaged and ultimately be fixed and go back to being cordial, even in disagreements? What are your thoughts? Hit me up there on the comment section. I'd like to hear from you.